Which type of hypothesis test should we use to analyze this question? A Wisconsin high school wanted to know if their students were prepared enough to take the SAT. They wanted to know if there was evidence that their students performed worse on average than the national average of 66% of the possible 1,600 points. They sampled 50 random student scores and found they had an average of 63%, with a standard deviation of 6.6 percentage points. The first thing I notice about this problem is we have two percentages, 66% and 63%. That suggests that I might want to think about using a 1 proportion or 2 proportion z-test. But looking a little closer at the problem, I see that we also have the word average or mean. That suggests that we might want to think about using a t-test or two-sample t-test. To get a better understanding of this, let's think about what the data would look like as we were recording it in this study, before it got summarized for the problem. Each observational unit would be one student, so those are what the rows of our data table represent. Then we would want to record that student's score on the SAT. And for this problem, that's recorded as a percentage of the total possible points. So 65%, 72%, 51%, and so on. We would not have a second variable in this case because there was no other grouping or explanatory variable. We just had the single variable of scores of students at this high school. So as we've recorded it here, the variable score is written as a number where numerical comparisons make sense. It's reasonable to say that 72% is a higher score than 65%. That means that we have a single variable, score, that's a quantitative variable. Our hypotheses would look like this. Our null hypothesis is that mu equals 66%, the national average, and the alternative hypothesis is that mu is less than 66. Here, the percent is not a proportion of the total number of observational units. Instead, it's more of the measurement unit on the variable we're taking the mean of. 66% could be just as easily 66 feet or 66 pounds. It's a unit in that sense. That means we should consider using a one-sample t-test. We need to check whether the validity conditions are met for a one-sample t-test. Recall that those validity conditions are having a symmetric distribution of the data or having a large sample size and data that's not strongly skewed. In this case, we're told that the school district sampled 50 random student scores. That's our sample size, which is greater than 20. So yes, our validity conditions are met. We don't need to know what the distribution of scores was, because since our sample size is larger than 20, it does not need to have a symmetric distribution. That means that a t-test is appropriate.